Hello everybody, my name is Kirsty Stiles. Welcome to the Young Brits series looking at design and innovation. We're joined here by one of the judges for the Young Brits, Mark Hampton. Hello.
Hello.
And we will soon be joined by Duncan Fitzsimmons, who is going to be helping us look at the topic of innovation and design today. We're also joined on the line by some of the Young Brits finalists, so people who whittled down from thousands and thousands of entries in the innovation category. So we've got Tom, Charlotte, Bethan, Jessica and Harry, who all should be on the line. Hello guys. As many of you will know, the Young Brits series is looking for some of the greatest talent that we've got in the UK in 2025. It's been run by Jack Wills, and so they've asked us to come here today and look at the future of innovation and design. So we're waiting for Duncan to join us, and while we sort out those technical difficulties, we'll get started on some questions, yeah?
Okay.
Cool. So, yeah, just by way of letting everybody know, my name is Kirsty Stiles. I am a technology journalist, a political campaigner, and a very amateur comedian. So if I don't say anything funny, then I'm going to look. So let's get on with it. The future of innovation and design. We wouldn't have a future of innovation and design without people. And I'm sure you know many inventors, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison. But my question for you, Mark, is to be an inventor, are you born with it, or can it be made?
I would definitely think it's something you can get better at. In which case, it's something that can be made, or somebody could be made into it. It's one of those things I think that if you develop a skill of noticing things and build your knowledge base, you definitely get stronger in everything like innovations and inventions. So I would say it's not a kind of you either have it or you don't.
Okay, cool. Is it the kind of thing that's being taught in schools? Should people get better at it at school?
Yeah, well, there's not an invention subject that's thrown up in school, but it's certainly elements of design, it's elements of economics, it's elements of science, and it's mixed together, and elements of art and kind of creative background. So the streams in schools are obviously very specific to the subject, but I think it's a meld of different things depending on what kind of flavour of inventions are involved in.
So Mark, I just realised that we don't even know who you are. As one of the judges, but you've also got one of the coolest sounding careers I think I've heard in a long time. So do you want to tell us what being an inventor in residence at the Museum of Science of London is and what that entails?
Yeah, so for the last 2 years I've worked at amazing, I get access to their archive. So 5% of the museum is in the museum site, 95% the remainder is in stores in Wiltshire and in London, and I get to rummage around there, and I'm designing products that are inspired by the collection, inspired by what's in the archive. And it's supposed to be a kind of first step, an introduction to science. So I pick things that are intriguing, scientific phenomena like levitation or metals that change the shape, and then I design products like that.
Wow, okay, so you're going back through other people's kind of inventions and bringing them into modern day.
Proper inventors, yeah, that have really done well. I get to, you know, it's quite nice also in the archive to see these inventions that have gone wrong. To be honest, I find that as inspiring as the kind of finished product, because you see how people have tried, you know, different alleyways of thought, of science, and invention, and it's not worked out. And I think that's actually sometimes you can feel inaccessible when you jump to something amazing or what looks like genius, but actually they probably have lots of failed attempts.
So what makes a great invention? You just mentioned that sometimes they fail. Is that an invention? Is it about something being novel and brand new, or is it about something transforming people's lives? Can you tell me, Mark, what your favourite invention is and why?
Yeah. I was find about this question, so I knew it was coming, and I was just trying to think to myself, you know, what I like. I mean, the answer that I come up with is so, because it's so ubiquitous. And I think if I could invent anything, I would invent something that you use every day and is just, you know, completely unsung. But if you can come up with an invention like a paperclip, it's something that people use and can't be improved upon, really. I mean, the design of it is so well developed and so well refined that you end up using it as is, and you didn't sort of seek to improve upon that. So something like that. If I could come up with something like that, I would say.
So you mentioned paper, is that patented, or is that just,
It was initially, and there were a few different versions of it, but it was more about the manufacturing, and that's quite often taken attention. Sometimes the best invention doesn't find its way through, but the best manufacturing has it. It was a particularly simple way to make it, and it just forced somebody to do the manufacturing of it, and it was a very specific way of making it.
Okay, and so we were talking about the future of design and innovation, and so as a technology journalist, an awful lot of things that I hear about today are web technologies and being built in the cloud, that kind of thing. So words like UX, UI, these things that come into your daily vocabulary. I was just wondering, does innovation have to be, an invention have to be a physical object, or can it be kind of more of a,
no.
Where is the cloud, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really. Increasing inventions are things like apps, services, innovations that you can patent it. I mean, you can patent a manufacturing process, you can patent a product, you can patent a system, as long as it has invented something. So it spans physical and web, but I guess increasingly physical services are what people use and useful. So the sphere of invention is actually moving slightly further away from physical products.
Okay. What is your, so we're looking into the future, game-changing technologies, game-changing inventions, what can we see in the next 10, 20 years, and when are you going to start to use people's lives?
Well, I guess the kind of the cliche invention, forms of invention is free thinking. What's really interesting about that is its potential to transform. And nobody's really sure. I mean, it's something that's been around for 20 years. This additive manufacturing, 3D printing, that's a prototype, and it's been around for 20 years, but it's a surprise point coming down to now for 20 years the everyday people. So how would it be used? That I guess is the challenge. Would people have one in mind? Would people
in jewellery, that's what I've seen it a few times. Is it going to be, I've seen people printing houses. Does it smash the manufacturing system as we know it?
I guess what I find exciting as a designer is that if you imagine part, the cliche thing is if you imagine a part of the world, you break it. Now, if you want to replace that at the moment, you would have it manufactured by somebody in China. It would be made enough that it would be shipped around the world, and then it would be put into a distribution contract. And somebody would collect it.
For at least 20 minutes waiting for somebody to.
Somebody would collect it. If this part has come 6,000 miles around the world to be in Britain to get fitted to your Washington, if you could print that locally, it would save a lot of resources. But where it's particularly exciting is if you could improve that design, you could have access to that CAD data, and you could improve your feature and make it better, and then upload it. And then it democratizes design, because anybody that's got a better design can upload it into the use. So anything, any object, potentially, can be improved upon by a kind of mass effort.
Okay, well that sounds very interesting. So open source kind of access to everything. Is that?
Well, yeah, potentially. This brings in itself all kinds of questions about IP. But it does make a very interesting feature if anybody can improve upon the product very easily. It's sort of into kind of CAD skills.
Yeah.
I guess it's the barrier.
Okay, brilliant. Right, so we are going to open up to a couple of our young Brits who've been patiently waiting to have their chance to grill the judge, turn the table. So we've got 3 of you guys on the line at the moment.
Yeah, I can see you now.
So Bethan, who is our young engineer, female engineer, so a rarity in many ways in her field. So Bethan, you've got a couple of questions, I think, for Mark. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just quickly introduce myself. So I'm 21 years old, and I chose not to go to university. I applied for Loughborough and wanted to do aerospace engineering, but ended up at Rolls-Royce, and they're training me and paying for my studies. So I'm getting the best of both worlds. I mean, I've sent some questions to you previously, but I've now thought of something that I'd love to ask you, so I hope you don't mind springing this on you. One thing that I find at work and also applying my studies is that there's a massive restriction between design and manufacturing. Now, I know you were talking about it briefly, but do you think that in your job you have got those restrictions slightly less limiting?
Have I got design and manufacturing limitations? Sorry,
The limitations between, you can design something. We have a lot of problems where you design something that in theory is going to save, loads of problems, but implementing it in mass manufacture is seemingly impossible. Now, I don't know if in your job you've kind of got that restriction limited.
It's less limited, I guess, because Rolls-Royce, you have all kinds of complications with designing a jet engine and making any changes to it. And I guess what I do is more flexible, and I end up choosing quite simple ideas and developing them quite quickly and moving on to the next product, if you like, the next invention. And the point about jet engine, the point about what Rolls-Royce do, is it's a beautiful process of refining a system and improving the system. In which case, I guess it is more of a collaborative effort, and you're building on the basic knowledge that other people have built up and manufacturing techniques that have been improved. So I guess I'm freer to do different things, and I guess there's less difficulties in terms of getting into manufacture, but it's a less refined and in some sense it's useful product. So I would love to do what you're doing, to be perfectly honest. I'm full of admiration for Rolls-Royce and what they do in the engine.
You should come on down for a while.
Sorry?
You should come on down.
I'd absolutely love to. My brother works at Brits, I'll give you.
Well, you can put a date in the diary for that. Gavin, I have a question for you. So, as I kind of alluded to, and I think you alluded to as well, engineering STEM subjects are kind of supposed to be at the reserve of boys, and girls can get on with more frivolous things. So I was just wondering, you're a campaigner on that. What is your kind of vision for the next few years, and how do you get girls to be interested in these really hard and rewarding subjects?
Well, I think I was really lucky. I kind of almost stumbled upon it when I went to space camp. I was chosen to go to America, and it was the best week of my life, and that's what decided it for me. But obviously that's not something that everybody gets the opportunity to do. So honestly, it was the best week ever. But I think you're unaware of it when you're younger. But also, what I found at school was when people come and do talks in assemblies, let's be honest, nobody's really paying their full attention that you would be doing if it was going to change your life. So I think for me, we need to make a different approach, and for me it's making it, I call it, let's make it cool to be clever, and that's what I would like to do, because I think when I was at school I got the bad end of the stick for that as well. It's not cool to be clever, and it's not cool to be the one that knows all the answers, and we've all, a lot of people have been there, and I think maybe boys are a bit more resilient to that and kind of tell people to leave them alone, whereas girls, I think, sometimes take that a little bit to heart and don't pursue what they might have done naturally. So, I mean, I don't know if that people agree with that, but I think I do cheerleading, and there's a lot of young girls on my squad, and I can see the way that they act in front of different people, and I just want them to see that, like when you're older, being able to fund yourself and having a decent job is cool. So I'm hoping that eventually
it's hip to be square.
Yeah, be a nerd.
So thank you very much for that question, Bethan. Next up, we've got Charlotte, who there's a bit of a theme here, skipped university to found her business, Raw Ecstasy, which is not, for those animals out there, some kind of new party drug. It is all about health food. So Charlotte, do you want to just introduce yourselves and then direct your question to Mark? Maybe switch microphone on?
Unfortunately, though, I am really hard to see here, and I think
I can hear you. Start again?
unfortunately, it's hard.
Are you on the Wi-Fi inside?
let's move on to Harry.
So we will move on to Harry. This process is just like Eurovision or something. And so we'll try and get you back in a second, Charlotte. So hang fire, and if not, we've got your question here ready for Mark to go at anyway. So Harry, can you hear me?
Hello, yes.
Hello, Harry.
Hello.
You are going to have to ad-lib then. Harry Goodwin, you are another one of the Young Brits semi-finalists in the innovation category. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you've been up to?
Yeah, really I'm a political innovator. I'm 18 in first year of politics degree at Durham, and really I just look for new ways to engage young people in politics and more ways to hold politicians to account for their actions. So I set up my own website last year, OmniPolitical, which is a global platform for young people to express their opinions, express their views, and also for politicians to like click on, and within 20 seconds they can see exactly what young people are thinking and how they can address that.
Sounds like a wicked idea, and something that we can certainly have a chat about afterwards. So you've got a question, Mark. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, it's kind of related to what I do. So how important is it that young people get the chance to share their views and share their ideas with the world? And when you were younger, how difficult was it for you to kind of get your ideas out there and get your voice heard?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I guess when I was young, I was actually quite shy, and I was a bit unsure of my views, and they weren't fully formed. But if you look today at the kind of key innovators, and where the movers and shakers are, it's becoming younger and younger, especially with the kind of digital and internet age. So I really do think it's important for them, and I really think that they're going to have a larger and larger part to play in changing society. So I think what you're doing is absolutely spot on. But from my own point of view, I was a bit more reserved and a bit more shy and a bit more uncertain.
Me.
Yeah,
Harry, I also had another question for you. As I mentioned, I'm a little bit of a campaigner myself, so I certainly think you should get down there, head down the street, bang on David Cameron's door and give him what for. But anyway, so I was just wondering what you think is there something wrong with politics that means that young people don't engage? Are they doing it elsewhere? Or what's your solution to all of this? Should young people vote? Is Russell Brand right? I know there's quite a lot of different questions, but go on, you're our young expert.
Well, I think there is something wrong with politics at the moment. I don't think that there's enough engagement with young people. I think the politicians are a little bit complacent. They see the over 65s being the biggest turnout, so they go, let's pander to the older views, whereas the young people can just get left on the scrap heap. They get apathetic with politics, they get bored with politics because they don't get engaged with it. So the answer is more education in schools, which is what I'm trying to use through OmniPolitical. I've got kind of educational tools coming through on that. And really, if we just start encouraging politicians to kind of directly contact young people, but not patronise them, because often you see the kind of clips of politicians standing above pupils in schools, and it's patronising and condescending. If we get them on a level playing field, we need them on a level playing field, and we can work from there. We'll go from there. Votes for under 60, votes for 16-year-olds is a good start, I'd say.
I think they would be exposed fairly quickly, though. I think they would be found out, their lack of knowledge and savviness. I suspect that's probably the reason why they can't avoid doing it.
They're not human beings, are they? They're your factories, right?
They're middle class,
Quite quickly. Look at the competition betting as well. Have we got Charlotte on a good Wi-Fi connection? No, right. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So, well, I hope I do you a good service, Charlotte. As I mentioned, Charlotte has been supplying health food to the likes of Whole Foods and things like that. So she again is doing very, very well for herself and is a little bit rubbish. So Charlotte wanted to know what was your biggest challenge when developing an idea for a prototype into a viable product to manufacture?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because I think it's very easy to come up with an idea. I think the hard part is implementing an idea and getting it through the kind of manufacturing process, and then convincing somebody to buy it. And I certainly remember from my experience the thrill of getting somebody to buy something that it's your idea, you've developed it, you found somebody to make it, and you convince somebody to buy it, ideally in quantity. So it is a very tricky process, and I think this is where, where we're talking about inventors being born or kind of being taught. This is something I think you definitely get back to that. You get more contacts, you learn from your mistakes, and it's something you develop. So it is hard, I guess, to go from an idea through, but it's something that is tough. So it's it and you get there.
Okay. Tell us about your self-teaching pottery.
Well, that actually, I have to be honest, something that didn't get into production. So it's something that started with an idea that didn't get much further. Essentially, it uses hand warmers you can get. You put the disc and they crystallize it, they go from a liquid to a solid. You give out heat, and then you can put them in hot water in the method of dishwasher, and you can recharge the element and use it again and again. Then they follow a process mode. You press a button, they heat to 60 degrees. They stay warm, they keep your food warm longer, if they're eating and something like that, then it works. And I won British Inventor of the Year for it, and I met Prince Philip, and he told me that I had a good Belgian forehead, which is nice. I mean, what do you say
One
to
of his
that?
classic lines.
Thank you. But what I learned with that is I went and worked with Wedgwood and developed some prototypes, and it was frustrating because it wasn't something I could push forward. They had the technology and they had the means to do it, and it moved at their pace. And it frustrated me that I couldn't get through that process of manufacturing ceramics, which is the day-to-day movement. So I learned actually to try and choose products and do things where I had, they were either simpler or I could control the means of manufacture a little bit better.
You mentioned Wedgwood and ceramics, and I guess there's two things that kind of spring to mind when you think about British innovation.
Yeah.
What's the UK like compared to the rest of the world? Do you get to mix on the kind of international level?
Britain is incredibly creative. I mean, it's kind of, if you look at our history, we are something well over our way. But equally, we're not so good at commercialising. So we can have lots of ideas, but we're not like America in that we throw money at things and we're a big base of investors. Quite often, it is that kind of sceptical British, let's go about that, rather than, quite risk-averse. So you definitely can't give up our way.
Perfect. You've got access to 95% of the archives that people like me don't get to see. Is there a best inventor that we've never heard of?
Well, I mean, the guys that get 2 stars, and you get it. So the guys that are at the time basically, so the things that are in our collection are prominent events that we have, and accordingly, there are those few kind of unheard of. But what's quite nice about it is there are these blind alleys of science that you wouldn't otherwise see. There's a whole area of scientific chronology, which was based on the assumption that you could tell somebody's character by the shape of their head. So the thought was the brain has different characteristics in it, and your head would reflect that, and therefore you could tell a criminal by the shape of their head. And there's a whole collection in the archive, all these different, skulls, and for about 20 years the theories were developed, and then suddenly they realised that actually it was completely blind alley.
That was a really, really good book about the history of cancer and the stages that they went through from just cut the entire thing off.
Yeah.
And all of the progress of it is really quite common. You must see some more stuff getting in the background of the museum stuff, the Science Museum.
The kind of technology, yeah.
So Charlotte, I believe we may have you.
I'm afraid the connection cuts out. Yeah.
So my mum told me that in the 1950s, when she was growing up, I might be doing this service back in the 1950s, that they were promised that by the year 2000, robots would be doing our laundry and we'd all be sitting back, kicking back, nothing else to do.
There are hoverboards.
There are hoverboards. Is that is there a time, are we getting to a point where machines are starting to get more humans?
Well, there is.
Dystopia on the horizon?
There's a test for intelligence experience that's recently a computer passed. So it's the first time. The idea is that you're in one room, you're communicating with either a person or a robot remotely. Would you be fooled into thinking that the computer is the person? So if the computer can give sufficiently rich, culturally contextual answers, you could be fooled into thinking that it was a person. And recently, the computer passed that test. So yes, they're on a par.
Okay, so we've got a question from Robert, who is not one of the young Brits, but is interested to get some more insight. So I was happy to give you that. So where do you think the next frontier of innovation will be?
Possible. Yeah. I think really good inventions come out of the interface of two different industries. So two different technologies that can be put together. So you can see how the internet and 3D printing are likely to lead the way in terms of changing manufacturing. And I think the internet and apps and the way that apps are developed are changing the way that we do kinds of. So the digital stuff is certainly very influential. But then, exactly. This is fusion. Somebody could crack fusion. It would solve. It would change the politics of the world. And about how I feel composed so much about the structures. If somebody could crack that, but it will be a big organisation with massive effort. In which case, it will equally be controlled by an established power. So where does that lead?
Transform in the way that it was an individual and they
open source.
Okay. Okay, interesting. I'm going to write that one down. That's a good idea. So we've got a couple more questions from people who've not managed to join on the panel. So imagine I'm Joshua for a second.
Okay.
What is your advice for obtaining funding for ideas or projects that young people can get?
Well, there's lots of different ways. It depends on how much funding you need, really. Seed funding, you sort of they call it 20,000. And then above that, you can find, like Jonathan Stone, you can find people like Peter Jones, or you can pitch to angel investors, as they're known, for a bit more money, or then organisations and venture capitalists who invest in businesses, as a means of making money as a business. And that's very hard. But I think it's all about being credible. The more credible you can present yourself, and the more reasonable and realistic you can present your idea as, then the more likely you are to get money. Because you imagine it's your money and you've got to give it away and you're hoping to see it. You have to sort of think like an investor in order to back that money.
Who's the best dragon?
Yeah, well, I would take it to dragon. That was all.
So Josh had another question, which was not a supplementary, that was my supplementary dragon question. So what advice would you give approaching companies from an industrial partnership with your idea? Who's the best person in companies to contact, and how do you pitch your idea?
Yeah.
That's a better question in mind.
Okay. And it's a really good question because, the key thing is finding the right person to talk to. And in my experience, the higher up in the organisation you go, better. And it's about almost being cheeky in some respects to get that cut through to reach, James Dyson or whoever it might be in this big company. So often it can be about thinking laterally. I've got on occasions where I've been going into kitchen Sainsbury's or something like that. I've sent the head buyer a gift with my product.
Bribery.
Not bribery, but it's more like getting your product in front of them. And I emailed the guy from John Lewis I wanted to talk to, just pretty much relentlessly until he agreed to talk to, but not in a kind of stalky, bad way, but in a kind of, I'm doing this, I realise we're very busy, I'm just going to keep you informed, and then there's been this new development, I've been working on this, and I thought, just to kind of keep them in the loop, and eventually it's like, look, you've probably got to the point now where very interesting, let's have a chat about it.
Okay.
So, you have to be friendly, but at the same time persistent.
What about the kind of kids who do the sandwich board, marching outside somebody's office type stuff, trying to get people's attention?
I don't know about that.
No, not credible. No? So we've also got a question, which is actually one of Harry. Have you got another question that you wanted to ask? While we have you.
Put you on the spot there, Harry.
Yeah. I know. I was going to say a bit on the spot, but okay, yeah. I remember reading something that Mark said a concept called applied inventiveness.
Oh yes.
I really just now I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry.
Thanks,
I was
Harry.
just wondering
What that meant.
Sorry, I was just wondering how you'd explain that. How do you describe that to a young designer, campaigner, inventor? Yeah, how do you explain it?
So say it again. Applied
inventiveness, and I think what I meant by that is useful inventiveness. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the context in which I said it, but I mean, you can invent I don't know a hat that's also a tea cozy, or you can invent all kinds of different things which aren't very useful. Applied inventiveness, I guess, is the application, of improving a product by innovating it. So applied inventiveness, I guess, is the process of innovation. But ultimately, it's useful. I mean, that I think is what I was driving at in that particular comment. Applying an inventive mindset to a particular problem, which might mean looking at the problem and noticing something about the way something's doing something that can be improved, or noticing a material, or applying your inventiveness to a particular situation, which I think it carries to politics, it carries to all kinds of things that we do in life, and it's, I guess, about seeing things in a slightly different way, and thinking how you might do it better.
Do people ever come to you with ideas that are just?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
All kinds of things, but I'm not going to mention any, obviously. But yeah, there are some funny ideas.
Yeah, just. So is it things that work on a large scale, or just they're solving a problem that doesn't exist, that kind of thing?
Yeah, quite often, and it's
like the things that are on JVC.
Well, it's often a test of one. Somebody's thought it's a good idea, and they've not really asked anybody else. They've not really tested it, and that's a real key thing about doing a prototype. Or if you've got an idea, putting it in front of people that aren't your friends and aren't going to give you a biased answer, being really brutal with is this good or not, and so quite often there are people that really have just developed this sort of whole thing that I've got something that's useful and it's going to change the world, and it's not. I mean, and it's a very difficult thing to. Well, I mean, I don't want to say that to somebody, but it's almost like, well, okay, well, have you tested it, and who could you try this with, and going about it, that way. And I do it often enough. I come up with an idea that I think is great, and then it actually turns out it's rubbish.
Yeah.
So I need other people to tell me that, because I obviously don't. I don't know.
More helpful for people if they can go away and have a think about it.
Yeah.
That just reminded me of the X Factor when people go on and their family have clearly gone like, don't worry,
yeah,
you're going to make it.
Yeah. You can sing really well.
Yeah. Is it that parents don't hear the same sounds from their children?
Maybe, yeah, that could be it.
So internationally, I guess the types of innovation that we have in the UK are iterative and things like that. Are there it is that layering the internet technologies and things like that.
Yeah.
Your smartphone. How can you make it even easier for you? You don't even have to get it out of your pocket and just wear glasses. Just think it.
Yeah.
Is it more exciting to look at other places in the world where technologies are really making the difference between life?
Yeah, I guess the thing about it's a global marketplace, and if there's one technology in one country, very quickly it will find its way to another country. If there's money in it, it will find its way through. But there are definitely innovations that come from one part of the world that are just transplanted into a different country, and it can be anything from different brands to different products that they have that are popular in different countries. So there is a richness in different cultures and different backgrounds and different approaches to life that transplant really well into a different country, a different way of seeing the world. And I think that's the essence of creativity, seeing things differently and then applying it usefully.
Is Google Glass going to take off?
I don't know. I had a go on it, and it wasn't great. I was a bit underwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, they say it's a kind of prototype, and so in the future. So I don't know if you've seen the video where the scenario is a guy sits down to go on a date with a woman, and he's kind of like checking things about her as they're talking. So like creepily going like, "Oh, do you like dogs?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah."
Gotcha.
So not convinced of that as As yet. So my final question, if everyone will forgive me for asking. So if you could had one piece of advice, maybe that somebody's given you, or something that you kind of live by when you're trying to invent, you're trying to be innovative and design new things. For our future inventors and these guys.
I'm struggling to think of one thing. I mean, as I say, if you've got an idea, it's a really good thing to test it. I think that is such an important thing to evaluate an idea, is to get as many people's sort of opinion and refine that idea. I think that's fundamental. So that would be my one thing.
That's great.
That would be it. Just test.
Really great, succinct line there. People can repeat and go, oh, remember when Mark Champion said, always test your own.
Yeah. I need to get it more pithy, but I will.
Yeah. I always wonder whether Winston Churchill said things that were just
he probably didn't, did he? Yeah. Probably just went on and on.
Right, well, it's been really, really, really good of you to join us this evening, and all of the young Brits who've joined us for the Google Hangouts as well, which is only possible today, that we can talk to each other from all over the world because of innovations like the things that you guys have all been working on. So I guess it just leaves to me to say thank you very much, everybody who has joined us as well. I'm sure Jack Wills won't mind me thanking you all for coming on their behalf. And there will be more in this series, which also covers creativity, entrepreneurship, and endurance. So please look out for those as well if you've not caught them already. So Mark, thank you very much. Keep on innovating.
Bye.